Hello again. It's Sunday afternoon, the Sunday before Thanksgiving, and today I'm gonna bake some focaccia. Focaccia, I don't know. It's an Italian bread. It's kind of like a pizza pie without the sauce and a thicker dough than I would normally want on a pizza, but as a bread it's fantastic. So let me give you a quick tour of the ingredients, and then we'll start to put the dough together, okay? So here we are with the ingredients. The first thing I've got here is 2 3/4 cups of flour sitting in my mixing bowl. Now here's the rest of the dry ingredients, and then we'll get the wet ingredients for this dough. We've got a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, a 1/2 teaspoon of dried basil, a teaspoon of dried thyme, a teaspoon of oregano, a teaspoon of garlic powder, a tablespoon of yeast, a teaspoon of sugar, a teaspoon of salt, 3 tablespoons extra virgin olive oil, and 1 cup of room temperature water. Of course, there's the rest of my flour, which I'm going to knead a little bit when I start kneading. Knead when I'm kneading. Interesting thought. Okay, let's start to put all of this together. Alrighty, let's start throwing things together. Black pepper, 1/2 teaspoon basil, teaspoon thyme, teaspoon oregano, teaspoon of garlic powder, tablespoon of dry yeast, teaspoon of sugar, teaspoon of salt. Let's just get all those things kind of evenly spread out and mixed around in here. This yields just a nice dough that this would be great as a pizza dough too, by the way. I often mix the same herbs when I make my own pizza, if I make pizza dough. But for today it's going to be focaccia bread. So now we'll pour in the olive oil, the room temperature water, and then we'll just mix it up until we get a nice dough ball. After which we will turn it out onto the board here and give it a good kneading. For those of you who have watched me for a number of years, or at least for the last year or so, you may remember that early this year, starting in February, I had shoulder surgery. And prior to that shoulder surgery, kneading bread like this would have been practically impossible for me. The arthritis in my right shoulder was just so bad that I couldn't do it. So, but now it seems to work pretty good. Let's throw just a little bit more flour on there and start to knead it up. Move that bowl out of the way. A little flour on the breadboard. Okay, I'm going to take and put just a little bit of oil into the bowl here. Spread it around. Throw the dough ball into it. Get it nicely oiled. If you can see that, looks pretty good to me. We're going to put a towel over the top of it, which I'm going to just quickly dampen. I don't want it soaking wet, but I want it a little bit damp. And that then sits there for an hour or so. Let the dough rise. The kitchen's relatively warm, although I may throw it into the, our oven's got a bread proofing cycle when it's on convection. And I can bring the temperature of the oven down to 100 degrees and still be running it. And so maybe we should do that. Here we go into the oven for probably a half an hour at 100 degrees, and that dough should be nicely working. So the next thing we're going to do, the next ingredient is going to be some, normally I would use mozzarella, but I found this nice blend of mozzarella and provolone and parmesan and romano and fontina and asiago. Sounded pretty interesting, so we're just going to put that on. Almost forgot, we'll put a little bit of oil on first. And we'll just kind of spread that around, just to make things stick a teeny bit. Now we'll throw our cheese on. So we've got olive oil first, and a quick layer of cheese. Okay, next step. On top of the cheese, I'm putting some slightly dehydrated, sun-dried tomatoes. And what I did to these, they're just basic sun-dried tomatoes, but I slightly rehydrated them in a little bit of white wine. Thought that would add just a little bit of flavor to them. So there's that. And the next thing that's going to go on is a little bit of black olives. I did a consumer test at work about 2 months ago where I brought in 2 focaccios. One with black olives sprinkled on it like this, and one without black olives. And the consensus of my co-workers, based on the fact of which focaccia got eaten first and fastest, was that the black olives is a winner and the one without always gets eaten second. So that's my logic of we will add black olives. Now I'm going to add some 3 cheese Parmesan Romano and Asiago. Alrighty, and maybe we'll give it one more little chunk of the 6 cheese Italian. And now this is going to go into the oven at about 425, maybe 450, and that'll be our next step here. So let's take a look at the oven. And there we are, it's in the oven. We close her up and we'll give that about 20 minutes or so, and we should have a focaccia bread. Alrighty, looks pretty well done. I think I originally told you I was going to have it in the oven for 20 minutes. It has been in there 15. I think it looks pretty good. So out we go. Go over and look at that. There we are. Focaccia bread. We'll close that. Focaccia bread. It's a bit more work than just doing a plain white bread. I think it's got a lot more flavor, and it's a great snacking bread. I guess that's the way I'd put it. What I would recommend at this point is we'll let it cool a little bit, then mix up a mixture of excuse me, approximately 2 parts EVOO, extra virgin olive oil, and 1 part balsamic vinegar, a little bit of grated Parmesan cheese, and a little bit of fresh cracked black pepper, and then tear off a piece of the focaccia bread and dip it into the vinegar and oil mixture, and it's delicious. That's all I can tell you, is it's delicious. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you give this recipe a try, and I'll talk to you the next time I get cooking or baking. Bye-bye. nice smooth even texture.